everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins, this is my good buddy Brandon, and welcome to our YouTube channel. If you're finding us for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And this is, of course, our WWE Weekly Recap, the show we do once a week, recapping all the shows in the world of the WWE, Smackdown, Raw, and NXT. But before we get into those three shows, we didn't get a chance to discuss a little bit on this channel about the NXT releases that happened last Friday night. So I thought we'd go over a couple of those here, especially, in my opinion, the ones that jumped out to me was Bronson Reed, Bobby Fish, Mercedes Martinez, Tyler Rust, and Leon Ruff. Any thoughts on any of these releases, Brandon, and the thoughts on NXT as a whole?
They had a lot of things going on, storyline-wise. And with a lot of these guys, Bronson Reed is the one that's a real mystery because, I thought he was going to main roster. But Bobby Fish, what was Tyler Rust doing?
Tyler Rust just debuted with the Diamond Mine, which
is weird.
Yeah, that's the weirdest one storyline-wise to me.
Yeah.
The other ones kind of wrapped up a lot of their storylines, really.
Yeah. But Leon Ruff, but I don't think Leon Ruff's been there for a while.
Not really, no.
Sure.
But yeah, Bronson Reed's case, it's like he just had the North American title, dropped it. We all anticipated him going to the main roster, probably in the draft at some point, but he was continuing to wrestle a little bit on the NXT as well. I believe he lost his match. Was it to? I can't remember who it was to. It wasn't to Gargano, was it? No, it was to Adam Cole, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So he lost that match, and then Bobby Fish obviously lost to Roderick Strong, but that was just a couple weeks ago too. So another guy that all these talents are, Mercedes Martinez, I guess she wasn't really in a feud at the moment either per se.
Yeah, but you were doing something.
Yeah, she had some feuds earlier, just a couple months ago or whatever, probably not even that long ago. So yeah, it's just I just don't understand exactly what WWE's mentality is right now. Outside of, budget cuts, supposedly. But a lot of these are not due to budget cuts, really.
Yeah.
They've got this edict that's kind of come down in regards to NXT in general. No more midgets and, wrestlers over the age of 30, which is odd because it's like you don't want wrestlers over the age of 30, but you bring back Bill Goldberg. So I know he's a big guy and he's a name, but at the same time, it just doesn't really fit. Maybe you just made your developmental, I suppose. But to me, NXT's not been developmental in a long time. Now, granted, that's kind of what they want to go back to, which is nothing wrong with having a developmental system for sure. But it just kind of feels like you've been cutting Triple H off at the knees a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The shows are actually really good. I just wish more people watched them. But it sounds like they're getting punished for the fact that they were unable to beat AEW a little bit. But is that kind of your thoughts on it too, or just?
I mean, I don't know about the whole punish thing. I think Vince just realized, honestly, what people are talking about. They're probably being punished for the crowd chanting what they were chanting, with the whole Cross thing.
Oh, talk about on the main roster or when Cross came back to NXT?
On the main roster.
Okay.
Them beating him and the crowd being displeased with it because, he was in a big storyline, in NXT, and kind of
still is, which is odd because he wasn't on tonight's show. They had a video package, but since that whole incident, he's only been on the show once, and he was running away from Samoa Joe. So everything they've done with him on NXT since that moment where he got beat by Jeff Hardy, kind of hasn't been the same old Karrion Kross. It's kind of like they're hiding him a little bit. But we'll get into Cross a little bit, too, on Monday Night Raw. He also wrestled Jeff Hardy again this week. We'll get into that since Jeff Hardy was out due to COVID for a couple weeks, and now he's back. So I don't know exactly why they're doing what they're doing with NXT. I really hate to see it because NXT, to me, was the best WWE show. Especially,
and I think that may be part of the problem.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Vince has been known for a lot of years to have the bit of an ego, clearly, but if it's almost like if someone does something a little bit better than him, he kind of feels like
It's
he
a
wants.
slight to him in some sort
Yeah,
of way.
like he takes it as an insult to a degree, and he wants to be the best. Which nothing wrong with wanting to be the best, but if you're not, be humble enough to admit, hey, I'm not. Maybe I should change my ways.
Hmm.
But that's just my opinion. But hopefully NXT will survive all this. But they're talking about they want to go back to the old NXT. Hopefully not so far back to have obstacle courses and tire flipping, but because that was terrible stuff. But if it's back when it was on the WWE Network, which I got a feeling if NXT continues to get these low ratings on USA, they may go back to the WWE Network at some point, in my opinion.
Um,
And to be honest, that
I
might be
mean,
good for it.
yeah, but I mean, this way, more people had access to it this way
True.
when it was on TV. You were more inclined to watch it if just watching TV,
Hmm.
as opposed to now you have to turn on, Peacock
Which
or
is actually my point. To it, when you said more
yeah,
people have access, more people would have access to Peacock than they did the network before, because
yeah,
people
that's
could
true.
watch other things on Peacock. But at the same time, you're right. Probably USA probably has more eyeballs on it than Peacock does still.
Hmm.
But I've heard USA is not happy about some of this, and maybe they shouldn't be because this doesn't
Hmm.
make much sense. All right, well, with that now, let's get into these shows here. We got 3 shows to cover, so we're going to try to run through them as quickly as possible, but we're going to get into all the details too. Let's see here. So, SmackDown opened up with a Sasha Banks segment. She made her way to the ring to start SmackDown. The fans gave her a positive reaction and cheered her at first. Banks noticed she returned to take her spotlight back, and the fans booed at that. So kind of like what happened on the beginning of NXT, where I kind of felt like the fans flip flopped, which we've talked before. They do have a tendency to do sometimes, but
Yeah.
they recapped Sasha Banks attacking Bianca Belair last week, where she was babyface Banks, and about an hour later she turned on her. The video included fans reacting in slow motion, which was kind of odd, but that's the new thing. Sasha Banks bragged about attacking Belair. She saved Belair to prove that she needs her. Banks talked about Belair crying before their WrestleMania match. She returned last week to make Belair pay for beating her for the title. Obviously, I mean that's why wouldn't you come back and beat her, try to beat her up for taking your title from you? Which is like, why did Bianca even for a second believe that she was going to be a friend to her? It was odd. But anyway, Bianca Belair interrupted and walked down to the ring. She pointed out that Sasha Banks demanded to face her at WrestleMania. Belair noted she doesn't need Banks and knows Banks doesn't want her to shine. Bianca Belair rolled into the ring, so Banks jumped out. She stood on top of the announce table. Belair asked Banks if she needs to take 4 months off again, which that's probably pretty clever. Bianca Belair and Banks agreed to a title match. So I guess, another thing, in WWE seems like 2 wrestlers agree to a match and boom. They always say as long as it's made official, but it's like
Hmm.
it seems like these wrestlers just kind of dictate who they want to wrestle, which is odd. But I guess you don't have to have an authority figure to come out and say, all right, you guys are going to be in a match either, but
Hmm.
it's just weird that it just happens like that. Zelina Vega interrupted and made her way to the ring. Zelina Vega pointed out that Bianca Belair accepted her challenge last week and demanded a title shot. Again, for what? You've won no matches since you've been back. And she loses tonight, actually. Bianca Belair agreed to face Sasha Banks at SummerSlam and accepted Vega's challenge for tonight. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee confirmed that Bianca Belair and Vega will happen later. They then recapped Rey Mysterio against Jimmy Uso from last week. In the back, Rey was not happy that Dominic challenged Jay to a match for tonight. So he talked about Dominic being a rookie and doesn't want to jeopardize the title shot at SummerSlam. Rey thanked Dominic for helping him win last week, but noted he did not need his help. Dominic promised to listen to his father, but doesn't need his help either. Rey was impressed and wants to see what Dominic can do. That sounds a little bit like, I wouldn't say dissension because they're father and son, but you're
Hmm.
telling each other, I don't need your help.
It's the baby face. I want to do this by myself.
Right. I just wonder. It's just 1 week, so who knows? But are we looking at a possibility of a Ray Dominic breakup? Like maybe Dominic turns against his father, or
It could. I mean, and that would be a hell of a storyline.
I mean,
You know,
if they've
you
done
think
right.
about what's going back. You're going back. The match between Eddie and Ray, over custody of Dominic, right?
Hmm.
And then, we saw Dominic maybe once or twice after that.
Yeah.
Um, and then, years later, he just shows up with Ray one night. Not really, we had no inclination that he was going to be a wrestler at that point, when the whole Brock Lesnar thing comes. Then he fights for his father, fights alongside his father. Then they become tag team champions together. Like, it's a hell of a story. If told right.
Yeah,
it's a hell of a story.
if the Usos retain the tag titles at SummerSlam, which I would assume they would, that could be a catalyst to, hey.
And I think it'd be a good story if, like I said, if done right.
If Dominic comes out and says, "You're not my poppy," I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, I'll be like, all right, you've gone too far.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if they'll actually go that route because it's maybe not the best of taste, but WWE's not adverse to that either. Which we'll get into a little bit. We're talking about Baron Corbin here in a little while. Jey Uso defeated Dominic Mysterio in 8.5 minutes. Dominic and Jey Uso worked hard and had a pretty decent match. Dominic looked good, but probably needs a win at some point here. Because it seems like everybody else is winning in these singles matches, like the Usos and Rey, but Dominic did not. So, again, could be something.
I mean, that could be part of the story.
It could be, yeah. If they go that route, maybe he gets a little jealous. That could go that route for sure. Let's see. The match ended when Jey avoided Dominic and hit a super kick, and he followed up with a splash for the win. After this, they recapped Seth Rollins attacking Edge last week during the commercial break. In the back, Megan Moran interviewed Edge. He challenged Seth Rollins to meet him in the ring later, so Edge is upset. Rick Boogs. What's that?
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Rick Boogs introduced King Nakamura to a good reaction, which I still just can't get into Rick Boogs. Is it me?
I mean, I don't know. I guess he's like an acquired taste.
He's just so wacky. I don't know. The Nakamura thing. I mean, I like Nakamura. I always have. Not a big fan of what they've done to him on the main roster. But Rick Boogs is just, I get it. He's there to hype up the crowd. He's there to be wacky. He's there to do the guitar stuff and the distractions. But I don't know. To me, just something about Rick Boogs, man. They discussed The Rock's success with Jungle Cruise and John Cena's success with Suicide Squad. Michael Cole announced that Cena returns to SmackDown next week, which is odd to me because John Cena was at this show. He performed at a dark match after the show was over. Why would you put him on the television show at that point? He's in the building.
Yeah,
I mean, use him while you have him, right? If nothing else, maybe they didn't want to have him just cut another promo again, possibly.
Maybe, yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you've got him for a limited amount of time. I would have think you, and I thought he was maybe on Raw as well, but he wasn't on the main show either. But I could be wrong about Raw. But so yeah, it's just odd to me. Like you don't use him. We had a championship contender match, which I still can't get into. Shinsuke Nakamura with Rick Boogs defeated Intercontinental Champion Apollo Crews. This poor guy can't get a win to save his life since he won the title way back. I believe was it WrestleMania? I think he won the title or around that time. Nakamura and Crews only got 2 minutes and had a pretty weak finish. Nakamura hit a series of kicks and attempted a pin when Aziz then pulled Nakamura out of the ring for a disqualification finish. So Nakamura won, but he technically didn't win anything, really. Crews tried to attack Nakamura, but he fought back and sent Crews into Aziz. So, yeah, I guess we're getting an Intercontinental title match at some point. Not really buying this storyline, to be totally honest with you. In the back, Kayla Braxton spoke with Paul Heyman. Heyman noted that Cena stole the contract since Finn Balor's name was on it. Excellent point, which they brought up last week. He called the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the Tampa Bay Schmuccaneers, and fans booed or erupted in boos, which I can kind of go with that line. I'm not a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. Tampa Bay Schmuccaneers. All right, I'm cool with that. But yeah, he's noting the contract thing with Finn Balor's name on it, but obviously it's still going to be Cena versus Roman, which to me, any courtroom in the world, I don't think that would actually hold up. Regardless of whose signature's on it. Heyman told Braxton that Reigns has nothing to say about Cena or to her. Heyman walked off but ran into Big E. He was holding the Money in the Bank briefcase and he laughed at Paul Heyman. So still teasing the fact that Big E's got the Money in the Bank and he could cash it at any time. But I'll tell you right now, if they cash in the Money in the Bank and that's how Roman loses the title, I mean, you could play off the fact that it was...
He didn't get pinned.
Or even if he does, to me it's like I want. Okay, I think
to have the belt taken from him in that manner, where he doesn't eat the pin but somebody else does, would just infuriate him.
Maybe he pins Cena.
No, if Cena gets pinned, Big E cashes in and pins Cena because that does more for Big E than it does for Roman. Roman doesn't need anything.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah. My whole point with it is basically, and I've been saying this, if they do it with Big E, I'm not as upset about it. I've been saying I want Roman Reigns, when he loses that title, to be to the next big star you're going to push. If Big E is your man, I'm okay with it. I kind of would prefer that maybe Roman holds that title longer. But if they're going to do Roman versus The Rock next year or whatever, if that's even going to happen, and they're going to tell who's the head of the table, the tribal chief storyline, you don't need the title per se in that storyline.
No, but the title helps prove his point.
It does, yeah, because otherwise it's like, you're not the head of the table, you ain't the champion anymore. So, I mean, you could maybe play on the fact that he's delusional, kind of like Cena has said. But yeah, I mean, Big E winning it wouldn't bother me. I just don't know if I would like for Big E to win it in a cheap way, like losing Money in the Bank. But a lot of people have done it over the years. I guess it's not the worst way in the world, but I just like to see him beat Roman straight up if that was the case. But we'll see what they do. I still think Roman's holding that belt for a long time, but that's just me.
Maybe cashes in on Lashley. That's the story.
I would think that would be the better storyline, yeah, because we've not seen the New Day since Lashley destroyed him, which is interesting too. They weren't on Raw again. It's been weeks now.
They're about to get fired.
Never say never. But no, I think you're probably right though. I think eventually, Big E probably either in the draft or whatnot will jump to Raw, cash in on Bobby, and that would make more sense to me. And Bobby by that time would be probably about time to drop the belt. Tegan Nox was up next. Hey, her and Shotzi Blackheart, or I'm sorry, Nox and Shotzi. You don't call them by their names now. Tegan Nox defeated Tamina in 1:44 seconds. So we've got a half of the women's tag champions losing, which is nothing new here. Without Natalya, Tamina's been in these singles matches and whatnot. Tegan Nox rolled her up for the win after. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, because Shotzi Blackheart tried to shoot her missile from her tank at Tamina, which to me is like, that's not a DQ. She tried to take her out with a military weapon.
I mean, that's murder.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Nerf.
Yeah, we ain't got to worry about that. It's murder, bro.
I mean, you want to take out an opponent. That's the way to do it.
That's how you do it.
I mean, it missed Tamina,
forget the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, just shoot her.
Your whole career.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that was. I mean, I like the comedy of it. I do like that tank. Yeah. But apparently the missile missed Tamina and it distracted her though, and Nox rolled her up for the pinfall win.
I mean, that's a hell of a distraction. Somebody shoots a missile at you.
Yeah. I mean, that'll get your attention.
Color me distracted.
Military weapons being used in wrestling now. Who knew? In the back, we had Zelina Vega approached Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Still no explanation how Sonya Deville is a authority figure, but we'll roll with it, I suppose. She demanded to have her match with Bianca Belair next. Pearce noted that they couldn't have the match without proper promotion.
Brother, breaking the fourth wall, ain't you?
Yeah, I mean, like, how many shows do they have where they don't promote a darn thing, and let alone in the same show? Anyhow, we'll move on. Deville then clarified that Vega takes on Belair in a non-title match, which is odd because earlier they said it was a championship contenders match, and now it's just a non-title. So they kind of changed it midway through, but anyway, Deville told Vega to prove herself and she might get a future title shot because that's how we build title pictures now. We beat the champion. So, but anyway, at least in this case, the champion did lose, thankfully. We had Edge come out next for a segment that was pretty good, and the fans loved him. Edge made his way to the ring before the commercial break. He got a massive pop as he made his entrance. Back from the break, Edge noted that Seth Rollins is not there tonight. The fans erupted in boos because they want to see a fight, Yeah. Edge feels they're similar, but admitted he would end the feud if Rollins was there tonight. Rollins did appear on the big screen, though, via satellite in classic coward heel fashion. He mocked Edge and noted he always has a plan B. Edge said that he has a plan B and challenged Rollins to a match at SummerSlam. Rollins needs time to think about it, but he told Edge to think about it too. Rollins talked about ending Edge's career and his neck surgeries. Rollins mentioned Edge's wife and family. That's a no-no. Edge heard enough and mocked Seth Rollins. He called Rollins Edge light and said he couldn't fill his shoes. Rollins became furious and finally accepted Edge's challenge for SummerSlam. So Rollins snapped and gave in. I mean, this will be a good one-on-one match, no doubt about it. I'm glad they're bringing up the fact that about Edge's neck, because if they need to really drive home the point that Seth Rollins tried to crush Edge's head with that one-man concerto back a few years ago. I think that's what they should be driving this home with. And I think eventually, could we see Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch?
That'd be dope.
I mean, I wonder if maybe we're going to get that later this year. Maybe Survivor Series, something like that, if this continues. Of course, you'd probably have to turn Becky heel, which I don't know if they'll even be able to do, because she's going to get a massive babyface pop whenever she comes back. But unless you turn Seth babyface and then you have Edge go heel, you could do that probably easier at this point. But yeah, that could be interesting.
But I don't think turning him face right now is a good idea.
Who, Seth? Yeah, probably not. So yeah, we'll see what they do, but that's just a theory. Who knows? They may not actually do that. It may be a one-off, and that's it. So we'll see. In the back, Caleb Braxton interviewed Finn Balor. Balor. He was furious that Baron Corbin attacked him last week and cost him the shot at the title against Roman Reigns. That's John Cena stole. Balor promised to teach Corbin honor and integrity tonight the hard way. After he beats Corbin, he's going to address Cena. After this, we had the Street Profits defeated Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode in 3.5 minutes. Good to see Montez Ford back in action. And Angelo Dawkins got a hot tag and ran wild with a twisty splash in the corner. He followed up with a twisting neckbreaker for a near fall. Ziggler fought back and hit the Famouser for a 2 count. Ziggler attempted a DDT, but Dawkins pushed him back and hit a huge spine buster. Ford then hit his famous frog splash for the win. He gets a lot of hype. It's pretty awesome, no doubt about it. So good to see the Street Profits back in action as a team. That's good to see. It's been a little bit there, so hopefully they'll get some push here in the tag division, because that tag division, if you're not going to merge the divisions, that tag division needs all the help it could get on both shows at this point.
I would love to see the Usos and the Street Profits go on.
That could be a great series of matches. I'm not going to lie. Both those teams have some good talent, and you let them do what they do, that could actually absolutely be great. So we'll see. Next up, we had the non-title match. SmackDown's Women's Champion Bianca Belair defeated Zelina Vega in 9 minutes. Belair and Vega had a solid match that did pick up towards the end. The commentators explained that if Vega proves herself, she might get a future title shot. Banks distracted Belair, which allowed Vega to escape. She followed up with a Hurricane Rana off the apron. So I guess Sasha Banks walked out and caused a distraction here to kind of ended up. Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't the end. Back from the break, Vega was firmly in control with a chinlock. Belair escaped and hit a shoulder tackle. Vega went for an armbar, but Belair picked her up. Belair slammed Vega and hit a head spring splash for a near fall. Vega attempted a sleeper, but Belair countered into a suplex. Belair rolled through and attempted a delayed suplex, but Vega reversed into her own suplex. Vega attempted a Hurricane Rana off the apron, but Belair held on and slammed her against the barricade. Belair then hit the KOD for the win. So, okay. I don't know. It just seems like it was just kind of there. I don't know if it really did much to build anything, really, outside of just, Sasha and Bianca probably just stared at each other and all that sort of stuff. But Zelina Vega can't buy a win, seems like, and yet she feels like she deserves a title shot. So, not sure if I agree with that booking, but same with Carmella. But in the back next, we had Paul Heyman. He informed Roman Reigns that Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin is next, and Reigns said he was interested, so I guess he's going to watch this.
Wait, how do you make a statement like that? There's this match going on.
Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know, Paul.
Appreciate it. Paul.
If I wanted to know that, I could just watch the show. But he's in the back doing his own thing.
In the same building, Paul.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, come on, man. Finn Balor then defeated Baron Corbin in 2.5 minutes. It's like
as he should have.
Yeah, at least in this case, Corbin don't need to be going in long matches. I can't remember how long his match was on Raw, but we'll get into that here in a minute. Yeah, he was on Raw. Balor dominated Corbin and easily beat him in a very short match. The fans gave Balor a good reaction. Apparently, Corbin doesn't have entrance music anymore because he can't afford it. Which on Monday Night Raw, he come out to his entrance music for about 30 seconds, and then they turned it off. Like he couldn't afford to keep, which it's like, you work for WWE and you have no money. What happens to your 2-week checks from the company?
Gambling problem, dude.
I guess. I mean, maybe
every time.
He's so far in debt, I guess he has to use his entire paycheck to pay off his other stuff, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, we're not here to judge, okay? People fall in hard times. It is what it is, okay? It is not my place, and it's not your place to judge him.
Well, that's perfectly fine, but don't expect me to feel sorry for the guy because he's been a total...
We send, Baron Corbin the best of luck, and I hope you get through this, brother. We all go through bad times.
Boy, Brandon, go kayfabe on us here. But All I know is this is the same guy who made our current Universal Champion eat dog food at one point, so I have no sympathy for this guy.
brother.
And his mustard stained T-shirt. But anyhow, Balor
Man,
rocked.
you got a lot of animosity over there, brother.
I can't stand. I mean, I have no problem with Baron Corbin back when he was in NXT, the Lone Wolf, but this is just it's terrible. Balor rocked Corbin with a forearm and hard chops. Corbin sent Balor into the ring post and has suplex to take over. The fans broke into a brief "Let's go Balor" chant. Balor hit a double foot stomp and the sling blade. He followed up with a shotgun drop kick and the coup de grace for the win. Typical Finn Balor, move set to end his matches here. He just did it quickly and ended this in quick fashion, so nothing wrong with that. At least made Balor look strong for the moment, but we're getting into more of this here. After the match, Balor grabbed the mic and noted he still wants his title shot. 3 years ago, he would have let it go, but that Finn is dead. He's the new Finn Balor now. Balor doesn't care if he has to go through John Cena to get that match. That's when Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman interrupt. And this is the ending of the show here. The angle didn't do much favors for Finn Balor. He looked strong, easily beating Corbin, but then got beat down in the segment. He got in a brief flurry of offense, but the heels overwhelmed him. Not only did Reigns make Balor tap out, but the fans were chanting for Cena the entire time. The fans were into the segment, and it had the most heat of the night, though, because it is the best act in the show. It is Roman Reigns. Let's see here. The fans interrupted and boos for Reigns and broke into a loud Cena chant. Balor looked at Reigns and shook his head. Reigns heard Balor ranting about Cena and mentioned his name. Reigns told Balor not to mention his name again. The fans chanted, "What?" That chant needs to go. Yes. It's not helping
I'm so sick of that chant, dude.
I mean, I'm a big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, too. And it's not even about that. Yeah, it's not about that, though, now. It's about fans trying to hijack the show. That needs to stop.
He's tired of that chant.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let it go, guys. I understand it's semi-fun to chant along with some stuff that used to be popular, but it's only making it harder for these new talents to get their promos over. Yeah, it's bad. Reigns didn't let it bother him, though, to his credit. Reigns threw the mic at Balor and turned around. Balor then pushed Reigns to the floor. Not smart. I guess you shoved him from behind here. The fans erupted to another Cena chant. Reigns had a brief stare down with Balor. The Usos jumped Balor from behind and beat him down. The fans chanted for Cena again. The Usos tried to give Balor a splash, but he moved out of the way. So they clearly wanted, Cena to come in here and make the save, which did not happen.
Yeah. Oh, but I mean that's the marquee, though. They're gonna chant Cena here. They want to see Cena.
Mm-hmm. They were definitely playing it off like he wasn't there. Now, he did come out afterwards to make the crowd happy on the way out, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But as the show went off the air, the Usos jumped Balor again, and Reigns hit the Superman punch. Reigns locked on the guillotine submission, and Balor tapped out. The fans broke into another loud Cena chant to end the show. So, yeah, I mean, I guess next week John Cena will be back probably to kind of get involved with this a little bit here. But, yeah, where Balor ranks in all this, I have no idea. They've kind of done him no favors.
Once Cena leaves.
Yeah, maybe that's where they go after the fact.
It'll be different. But right now, your big marquee is Cena versus Roman. Mm-hmm. Once that's taken care of, Balor will be right back where Balor should be.
Let's hope so.
I don't think
feeding him to Roman Reigns ain't going to help him.
With fans hijacking the show too. If you're that person who's just doing it to do it, you're an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're allowed to chant what you want, no doubt about that. But there comes a point where certain chants like that, all you're trying to do is throw the talent off, and you don't have to be happy with the current product they're giving you. I'm not happy with a lot of that either, but I'm also going to give them the respect to deliver the promo that they're supposed to be delivering. And if you don't like the segment after that, boo it all you want. There's nothing wrong with boo. I wouldn't take it out on the talent, because the talent has no control over what they're supposed to be doing here, really. It's all about creative. But you have to, the one way to voice your opinion toward creative is to boo the segment. A lot of people want to confuse that sometimes with the fact that you're booing the talent. That's not always the case. But yeah, I mean,
talent when you need to boo the talent,
right? Yeah, if they're doing something,
ones screwing up, when they're the ones, but not because you don't agree with the story or what. And if their acting isn't helping, all right, fine. But
like Alexa Bliss, she's been getting booed and threatened and things on social media and stuff like that because she's got the Fiend character now, and people want Bray Wyatt, and it's not her fault. She was given that character and was probably told, you got to continue to run with it. She may not even want to do it, even though it sounds like she enjoys it. But of course, she's going to say that too. There's a lot of things that a lot of these talents on WWE especially are not allowed to talk about outside of, their doors. So that's one of those situations where it's like, all right, don't take it out of the talent. But yeah, absolutely. Any of these talents, just boo the segment and boo the show, but just be nice and courteous to the actual human beings. The characters is another thing. All right, so let's get into Monday Night Raw here. There wasn't a whole lot going on this show either, really, all things considered. Both SmackDown and Raw was almost kind of missable this week. If you were to miss them, you weren't going to miss a whole lot in regards to storytelling. Outside of the Randy Orton stuff is kind of interesting, though. He opened up the show. He returned from 7 weeks off. He just kind of just showed up. There was no surprise, no storyline. He just kind of walked out to start the show. He wore black shorts and an RK Bro zip-up hoodie. He was smiling, which is odd for Randy Orton, and appeared to be in a very good mood.
That's it's trouble.
Yeah. He actually played to the crowd here like a good babyface, which is something Randy Orton just does this. It just looks unnatural for him to do. But he's like, come on, guys. It's like, this isn't Randy Orton. But anyway, Orton welcomed us to Monday Night Raw because that's the show. That's the opener that everybody has to say. Welcome to Monday Night Raw. Everybody says it. It's like a rite of passage at this point. Matt Riddle entered, and Orton's mood immediately changed to disgruntled. Riddle chucked his scooter aside in excitement just before entering the ring. Riddle said, Randy, I missed you so much, bro. The crowd went, aw, literally, audibly. Riddle
set yourselves up for that.
Riddle asked where Orton was all this time. Of course, we get no explanation on that one, though. Orton's absence reminded Riddle of when his stepfather left 25 years ago to get milk and never came back. Holy crap, dude. They thought that was comedy. No, that's terrible.
You should have told nobody that.
It's not as bad as Drew McIntyre's story a little bit later on, though. I really feel, if what Drew said is true, I really feel bad for him. But this is obviously, I think, scripted. It's, fake. The crowd didn't care about this story, though, and chanted RK Bro instead. Riddle was excited that they could be a team again. Orton wondered why the hell he would team with Riddle. Orton said he worked better alone. Riddle sadly asked if that meant they can't team anymore. Riddle looked at him like a sick puppy dog. Like
puppy died.
You, like literally, yeah, like you broke his heart into 1,000 pieces. Which is like, bro.
Kind of did, though.
Literally, bro. Come on, man.
Bro.
Yeah, so Orton wasn't interested in being a team anymore at this point. That's when AJ Styles and Omos interrupted. Styles mocked Riddle and pointed out how untrustworthy Randy Orton has always been. Styles continued to mock Riddle for having a broken heart until Orton told him to shut up. But Orton stood up for Riddle here for a second. Orton said that he's been home for 7 weeks and was tired of hearing AJ Styles run his mouth. He said the only thing bigger than Styles' ego was that jackass Omos, which that was a great line. I thought it was actually well delivered. Got a good laugh out of me. AJ Styles challenged him to a singles match to prove who runs Raw, and Orton accepted. So Styles and Orton, it feels like we've seen 1,000. It's been a while, I guess.
Yeah.
But these two guys have clashed many times before. Orton was about to give Styles an RKO, but he saw it coming and bailed. Orton tried one on Omos, but Omos shoved him off. Riddle tried an RKO out of nowhere on Omos, but he countered two and slammed him down. Orton chose not to help Matt Riddle, though. He didn't help him to his feet. Instead, told him that was a bad idea, wasn't it? So he just kind of walked off, left Riddle lying as he walked up the ramp. So as opening segments go between two teams and promos, it wasn't terrible. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of enjoyed it. It wasn't that bad, but again, it's just leading up to their tag team title match at SummerSlam for sure. Even though after the end of this show, it's kind of like, I guess you're going to go with the reluctant team thing here with Orton and Riddle, which they've always kind of been that way. A lot of that going around in WWE here lately. We've had multiple teams kind of reluctant team up. One we're going to get into here a little bit later on in this show in particular. SmackDown's Baron Corbin was backstage. Kevin Patrick mentioned something about him using the brand-to-brand invitational to challenge Drew McIntyre, which I guess they're allowed to do 4 times a year. They brought that back up, which is a rule they've really not implemented lately, so I guess it's not overused at this point. Corbin said he needed the money, which is why he was brought over to challenge Drew McIntyre. He said he was basically homeless, but Jinder Mahal gave him a call and made him an offer. Corbin wasn't looking forward to facing someone who could decapitate him with a sword, but he needed to take the risk because he has no other choice. So
he got kids, man.
Yeah, he's Slater now at this point. Kevin Patrick interviewed McIntyre after the break. This is where McIntyre gave his story here. McIntyre did not feel sorry for Baron Corbin and spoke about what a bad person he was. He told a story about Corbin beating up a homeless person and taking what little money he had before stealing his dog. That's when Kevin Patrick asked about his sword. McIntyre said his sword was named after his late mother, Angela. Angela was told to have an abortion when she was pregnant with him, but she refused because she would have rather died. She never complained when she had cancer. He somehow transitioned this to his anger toward Corbin and said Corbin was a bitch. If that really happened to Drew McIntyre, I don't know. But if that's the case, that's heartbreaking, dude. That's messed up.
Tragic, dude.
Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that's his mother's real name and stuff. Of course, we all know this sword is Vince McMahon's. It may be
a legit story.
It may be.
But the sword itself is Vince's. I know that.
Yeah. Not only that, my biggest nitpick with this right now, we just came off a few weeks ago where they did this whole story between Drew and Jinder where Jinder stole the sword and then broke it, claiming he was trying to get it refurbished and things like that. And Drew McIntyre showed that he had the real one and Jinder had the decoy, because you never bring the real heirloom to the show and don't risk it getting destroyed, right? Typical Monday Night Raw, you know. So if this is actually the one named after his mother, this is the real sword. Why is Drew McIntyre bringing it to the show when you just had a storyline a few weeks ago saying, I would never do that, I'm not that stupid? Okay, I had to get that out. All right, so Drew McIntyre defeated Baron Corbin. McIntyre gave Corbin, he beat him in 9 minutes. This is actually a lot longer than the Corbin's match on SmackDown. Why it took this long, I don't know. I guess we got 3 hours to fill. Drew McIntyre gave Corbin an overhead suplex outside the ring prior to the break, but after the break, Corbin gave McIntyre a superplex. McIntyre came back with a headbutt, suplex, a neck breaker. Basically, it boiled down to a point where, you know, Baron Corbin was begging Drew McIntyre to help him out, man. Please, I'm just doing this because I have to. At that point, McIntyre said, he asked him how much money he'd need to get on his feet and take a damn shower. That was during the match. He just stopped the match and said, I'm starting to feel bad for you, man. He's like, Corbin said he needed $100,000 just to get by over the next few days.
Brother.
At that point, McIntyre laughed before doing the Claymore countdown and hitting the kick for the pinfall win. So at that point, McIntyre decided, I don't have any sympathy for you anymore.
I seen this thing, and for like half a second, I thought it was legit. I want to say it was on Sports Kita. Hold on. I'll put my phone real quick. Because I seen it, and it made me laugh. Because like I had to read it twice. Like, how could I just read?
Okay.
I want to say it was on Sports Kita. But it said WWE star, and it had Baron Corbin caught stealing wallets out of bags. And I think it was part of the whole storyline.
Really?
But I legit was like,
wait, you're like, wait, what? so they putting out news stories now to kind of mirror their storylines.
I'm guessing.
I hadn't seen that.
That shit, dude. I started dying. I'm trying to find it again so I can see it. I was like, yo, hold up. Did I read that right?
That's funny if that's the case. Yeah, if you find that, let me know. Send me the link. Absolutely. Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shaky then entered the stage after McIntyre got his win here. Before they could get any closer to the ring, though, McIntyre grabbed his sword and they backed off. Scared heels, didn't want to get in the ring with the sword. Understandably so. He might impale you. I mean, that's a murder weapon, much like the military artillery we're using on SmackDown. We've got,
that work is your job is becoming hazardous.
Okay? Yeah. Maybe y'all need to think about this. Think this through. And we haven't even got to the scariest part of the show yet, which we're about to get to here in a minute. Riddle approached Orton backstage on his scooter. Riddle asked.
Hold on. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sports Key. The headline read, Baron Corbin caught trying to steal Raw Superstar's wallet.
Really? Did it say which superstar?
No, hold on. I'm about to read it. Baron Corbin tried to steal Lindsay Dorado's wallet.
Oh, really? Bro. Like.
As per letters.
As
per the latter's tweets. So Lindsay Dorado says, just caught Baron Corbin trying to steal my wallet.
Dude, I wonder if he's able to dispense pesos over here in the States.
Probably.
I don't know what the
What's-
exchange rate is.
What's the exchange rate?
Yeah, that'd be
Back
interesting to
for
find.
make
If
up
he
on
comes out
Mr.
next week and said I stole some pesos, but they wouldn't work, I'm gonna laugh. That's pretty funny.
I did not see that. I was like, yo, hold up. I was like, that legit.
I mean, why not at this point?
I was done.
Backstage, we had Riddle. He approached Orton on his scooter. The scooter, man. Riddle asked if they can at least be friends and if he can accompany Orton to ringside. Orton said no and told him not to call him his bro. Now, we had the brotherly relationship here. Now it's Riddle's the jaded ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, whichever way, who's trying to get back into the relationship. That's what's happening, and he's being constantly rejected. So this is sad to watch, really. Get some respect, Riddle. Come on, man. Next up, we had NXT champion Karrion Kross versus Jeff Hardy. About said Matt Hardy, in a non-title match. Clearly, because Kross did an inset promo where he said Hardy ruined his debut and he's planning his revenge ever since. He was staring at an hourglass and said Hardy would fall and pray. Kross was in control until Hardy fought back, but Kross yanked him off the top, and they went to break 2 minutes in. It seems like a lot of these matches, WWE will kind of have the match going one way, then the heat will come in the middle of the commercial break. You'll come back, and the heel has got the
upper hand.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we as a viewing audience don't know what the hell had just happened. Sometimes they'll show us a replay, but it's like show that on the main show. That'd be a nice thing. Hardy hit a DDT after the break, followed by an inverted atomic drop, a leg drop, and a splash for a 2 count. Hardy tried to splash from the second rope for a near fall, and then Hardy used a jawbreaker to try to cover holding the tights, but Kross kicked out. After all that, Kross hit a Saito suplex and a cross jacket for the submission win. After the match, Kross gave him another suplex and hit him in the submission yet again. The crowd liked Hardy but didn't care much about Kross. He did get a "You suck" chant after attacking Hardy after the match. This, to me, it's like, okay, I understand Jeff Hardy was off 2 weeks for COVID, which might actually benefit Karrion Kross in the long run here, because the idea was supposed to be Jeff Hardy winning again against Karrion Kross the 2 weeks in a row, and eventually was going to lead to Scarlett joining Karrion Kross on the main roster, and that was when Kross was going to get his animal side and his killer side back. So they're trying to tell a story about that, which to me, you don't really necessarily need to tell. He's already the NXT champion. He doesn't need to be brought down for you to raise him back up again. But in this case, it's like, okay, if you were going to do this when Jeff Hardy come back, which to me, clearly this is a response to all the negativity they got after Jeff Hardy beat him. They said, well, okay, we're not going to do that again. But here's the thing. If you weren't going to follow through with that storyline you said was coming, why did you put him in a match with Jeff Hardy again to begin with? Because all those people saying, oh, well, that's the storyline they're going to tell, that's what they're going to do, and then they decide not to do it. Whatever their long-term storyline is, they could clearly changed it here, so it just kind of shows they fly by the seat of their pants sometime. And by the way, where was Keith Lee this week? Not on this show. Keith Lee gets a win against Kross last week. You would think you would use this week to kind of further his build a little bit, get him another win, or at least feature him on the show. Nowhere to be seen on this show. So I guess Keith Lee's back to catering for sure. Anyway.
Man, he about to get released next.
Yeah, and to be honest, if he gets released, he's going to find a lot of work somewhere too. A lot of these guys are releasing are very talented. I know a lot of people on the internet, guys like, if we lose Adam Cole, he's a vanilla midget, he's a waste of space, he's not very good. Hello? I mean, some of these talents you're releasing are really good. You guys might not think so because the WWE product has told you those are not good superstars because they're short or small. Open your mind a little bit. There are more possibilities out there than the big guys or the old guys like Goldberg or, John Cena's not super old, but bringing back part-timers. Wrestling is about more than just that, but people are blinded by certain things sometimes. All right, enough of my tirade. NXT tomorrow night, which we'll get into. They ran down the card. There was an Arcade Bro video package set to upbeat music about friendship. Okay.
Hey, man. Friendship.
They are rolling with this Arcade Bro thing for sure. Patrick interviewed Riddle backstage. So how many segments has Riddle on this show already? About 4? Little overkill. You're going to get to the point where you're going to start, overexposing these talents like Charlotte Flair. And when you've got 3 full shows plus a UK show, and you've got almost the amount of talent that AEW has, and you can't space them out a little bit more here. You probably need more talent, really, and you're cutting all this talent, or at least utilizing the talent you're not using, something to that effect, instead of overexposing certain talents like Riddle here. Riddle was sad, it seems to be the theme tonight, but said he had to respect Orton's wishes. He called himself a stallion and rolled off on his scooter. So, Riddle comedy. Here we go. And speaking of comedy, Alexa Bliss versus Doudrop. for 3.5 minutes. This was as dumb as it possibly gets on WWE. Bliss entered with the doll and placed it on the top turnbuckle. Lily was sitting there as the match began, and some fans chanted, "We want Wyatt." It's going to happen. You just might as well accept it at this point. Doudrop was sort of in control until the camera cut to a shot of the CG version of Lily sitting on the corner. The doll blinked and winked at Doudrop. They even added some Looney Tunes sound effects like blink, that sort of thing. And Doudrop had to act frightened at this in front of a live crowd. Bliss then rolled her up for the win here. So distraction, roll up, finish. WWE, favorites finish here lately. If you're wondering here, Alexa Bliss was presented as a babyface. They piped in booing for Doudrop at one point when she saved Eva Marie from Bliss. This doll's got to go. This whole Alexa thing. I respect Bray Wyatt and the feed he brought to it, but what they're doing with Alexa with this is not working, in my opinion. Nothing against Nikki Ash or anything either, but that gimmick has got to go too. It's not working. They're piping in cheers for her now because when the crowd's going crazy, you hear it in the audio, but the crowd is sitting there, not moving. I mean, things like they're coercing their audience with these cheap tactics, and it's really annoying. And they think we aren't smart enough to see through it, but we do. But yeah, the doll winked. Sheamus approached Miz and Morrison in the back. Basically, Sheamus said he would take care of Ricochet tonight and told Morrison that he better take care of Damian Priest or else. We had U.S. champion Sheamus versus Ricochet in a non-title match. This was an interesting finish to me just because the way the finish was here. During the entire show, or the entire match here, Ricochet's punching and hitting Sheamus in the metal black mask, and it's not hurting him at all. Then Ricochet comes off the top rope at the end, but Sheamus appeared to catch him with a headbutt using his metal mask, and it knocked Ricochet out. So it was a little different than what I thought. He actually hit him with a headbutt, but at the same time, it was like he was going for a diving headbutt and just hit him or whatnot. Sheamus followed with a bro kick for the pinfall win, so I don't know. Ricochet's a great talent. And all things considered, this was a good match up until the finish. It's kind of like, all right, the mask wasn't hurting you all match, and now all of a sudden it's hurting you. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Like I said before, if you would have been selling the fact that you punched it and it hurt, give it more weight to it. And then I could say, you were going for the diving headbutt, just kind of lost in the sauce, in the moment. And you jumped, and it didn't dawn on you till you hit the damn thing that, oh, yeah, that's metal.
And I'm not even sure it was a diving headbutt per se, but Sheamus caught him with the headbutt on the way down. So,
well, then that's different.
Yeah.
If Sheamus used, he fucking headbutted him, with it. But again, if Ricochet was selling the fact that it was hurting his hand when he was punching it,
yeah, that would have made more sense. Right.
And then that way you would buy into the, him doing a move and getting caught with a headbutt from Sheamus as to what knocked him out. Then sure, I would be okay with that.
Yeah. Damian Priest entered after the match and got in Sheamus' face. Sheamus tried a cheap shot, but Priest saw it coming and sent him out of the ring. I'll say this about Damian Priest. They're doing a pretty good job of booking him. Mm-hmm. He's not losing matches, and he's actually a smart babyface. So in that regard, good. I'll give him credit where credit's due there. Damian Priest then defeated John Morrison in 4 minutes. A lot of dripstick stuff, typical comedy here at one point. But there was another point in here where, let's see here, Miz was suddenly concerned upon realizing he blew his cover after he popped to his feet out of his wheelchair. So the Miz apparently is mobile. So he ran to the back before Priest could attack him. Priest grabbed the mic to address Sheamus. Sheamus entered the stage because he wanted to hear this in person. Priest challenged him to a title match at SummerSlam, and Sheamus accepted, which is odd because Sheamus has usually been going out of his way to get away from title matches in his run. He's had the thing for quite a while, and I don't think he's defended it much at all. Morrison tried to attack Priest from behind, but Priest knocked him down with a bro kick, of all things. Priest warned Sheamus that would be his fate at SummerSlam. So is he going to try to knock him out with a bro kick?
Knock him out with his own move? That'd be different.
Be a little bit. They don't happen very often. So usually the other person will kick out of that sort of thing. But yeah, so are we going to be getting Damian Priest versus Miz segments now? Or I guess he may be back. I thought he had a long-term injury. Maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought. They were playing it up like he was out for like a year, but we'll have to wait and see. He was running on his own here, so I mean,
Yeah,
it
he
can't be
was
too
hauling
bad.
ass.
Yeah. WWE congratulated themselves, which they don't have a problem doing, on reaching 80 million subscribers on YouTube. They also mentioned that a video of Reginald leaping in the ring received 33 million views on TikTok.
Man.
Some things I just don't understand. Like, of all things, the company, good for them, but him flipping into the ring? Is Reginald that over? I mean, I just don't understand. All right.
Maybe it is not for us to understand.
It's not for me, that's for sure. I mean, I'm glad if some people love this, and I'm sorry we kind of crap on it sometimes here. We're trying to find the good in it, but as old school wrestling fans and things like that, it's kind of hard. Next up, we had Mansoor. He gave Mustafa Ali a new jacket to wear to the ring to make up for last week. Ali told him to stop apologizing before adding, "You'll do better next time." Ali told him to watch him and learn tonight. This is a tag team. I don't understand the logic of it, because it's like, all right, a couple weeks ago, Ali's like, I don't want to team with you. I'll do it for one night. They win, and then they lose again the following week, and now they're just doing it some more. If they were continue winning, it would have been one thing, but they lost, so Ali's got no reason. But anyhow, I guess Mansoor's buying him cool jackets, though, so that's okay. T-Bar gets a win here, so good for the former Dominik Dijakovic. He defeated Mustafa Ali here in 3 minutes. Another short match. T-Bar and Mace did an inset promo. I suppose it's notable that Mace said size always matters. So, wink, wink. That's what Vince believes. Yeah, big guys do the trick. And in this case, the big guy won. T-Bar seemed to have it won, but Ali had his foot on the bottom rope, and Mansoor alerted the referee. Mace attacked Mansoor before Ali gave T-Bar a tornado DDT for a near fall. T-Bar knocked Ali off the top rope and hit the Feast Your Eyes for the pinfall win. It's basically a glorified GTS, I believe. Mace and T-Bar were going to attack Ali post-match, but Mansoor made the save and actually cleared the ring on his own. Little Mansoor stopped Mace and T-Bar, these two giants. Okay, sure.
Hey,
I don't know.
You gotta be careful. The little people squirrely.
I suppose, man. That's all about the bite and the dog, not the bark. You know what I mean?
They're threatening.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyhow. Moving along with kind of jobber feuds here, Akira Tozawa and R-Truth tried using disguises backstage to attack 24/7 champion Reginald, but he escapes using flips. That's about it. That's all Reginald seems to be able to do. He's a Cirque du Soleil flipper. That's all he...
Wow. You should reword that one.
Well, whatever.
You
but
stupid flipper.
He's a gymnast. That's what he is. He's an acrobatic, gymnast here. Is basically what he is. And I guess R-Truth was wearing a janitor's outfit. That was one of the outfits he was wearing.
Dude, I seen that. I don't know. Well, I can't remember what I saw it on, but I saw it at break, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
I'll say, okay. You want me to be positive about Raw? I'll say this: the 24/7 championship, especially during the pandemic, fell off big time. It was terrible. It was nothing but people running around chasing a belt. It was a jobber belt. Still is, really. But to their credit, they're trying to get it over a little more here lately. They've been having singles matches defending the belt, not just a bunch of guys running around in the background looking stupid. Now, granted, as I say that, R-Truth was wearing a janitor outfit. But
R-Truth,
R-Truth is great.
Doesn't have to do anything to be serious. Like,
of course,
he's done it all. You know,
he doesn't. So for him, he's just like, yeah, I'll go. You're gonna pay me to be a goofball.
Yeah.
Like I follow his TikTok. The shit he does at home.
Yeah.
By far worse.
Oh yeah, because they're allowed to use their own creativity.
That's all it is for him. He's just like, okay, if you just want me to be goofy and you're gonna pay me for it, I'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and R-Truth is endearing in that way. I mean, he's also one of those guys that, they come up with an idea, R-Truth would be like, I'll do it. He's got no qualms about, no matter how stupid it makes him look.
That guy too that you can get a really great match out of.
Yeah, especially at his age, and he looks great for a guy his age, which I don't remember exactly how old he is, but he's definitely up there, which, again, you know what guy's over 30? R-Truth is over 30. But, yeah, I mean, but all things considered, R-Truth is great at what he does. It's just what he does is not my particular cup of tea, but that's okay. WWE congratulated John Cena and The Rock again for their movies at the theater as well, which is interesting. They said they congratulated Suicide Squad for being number 1 at the box office and Jungle Cruise being number 2 in its second week, even though Suicide Squad literally made no money at the box office because it was basically for free on HBO Max and everybody watched it there. So yeah, so anyway, moving on. Hopefully he'll still get another movie, though, because I thought it was really good. Bobby Lashley and MVP come out. MVP ranted for a while about Goldberg and what happened last week about him getting speared by Goldberg. He claimed to have 4 bruised ribs and 2 cracked ribs thanks to Goldberg's spear. However, the only thing more devastating than Goldberg's spear was Bobby Lashley's spear. I guess it's, who's got the better spear off. MVP had a message for Gage, Goldberg's son. Your dad better not show up at SummerSlam because he will be destroyed and annihilated worse than you've ever seen, and Lashley will end his career. One can only hope at this point. The upside.
It's like don't tease me like that.
Yeah,
man.
don't bait, hang that
Don't
carrot
play
right.
with my emotions.
Yeah,
like
don't get my hopes up, WWE. But which we know is not true because he's got a 2-match deal over the next few years to compete for what in his career. The upside was that Gage will be able to spend all the time in the world with his dad after that, he said. Lashley then grabbed the mic and basically repeated the warning. He finished, "You're not next, you're done." Short, sweet, to the point. Not bad for Bobby Lashley here. Bobby Lashley MVP has been one of the highlights of this show, much like Roman Reigns is on SmackDown. So credit where it's due. I'm glad to see these guys being on top here, even though Bobby, one of these days, is going to lose the belt. But I think right now they've been put outside of the times they had him get pinned by Xavier and Kofi when it was non-title. They've been booking him very well, so I'm happy about that. Sarah Schreiber asked Rhea Ripley if she was still confident facing Nikki Ash. This was one of the worst promos. Something about Rhea Ripley on the main roster is just terrible when it comes to delivering these scripted promos. She was wondering if she was still confident facing Nikki Ash after seeing Nikki beat Charlotte last week. Which, to be again, Nikki beat Charlotte, but Charlotte took 95% of the offense in that match, and Nikki probably got 4 moves in a 14-minute match. So Nikki really didn't do a whole lot there. Ripley gave Nikki credit, but almost isn't good enough to remain champion, she said. Ripley said, as a former Raw Women's Champion, she understands the balance between light and dark that is needed to hold on to that title. Yeah, there's no light on this show, really, sometimes. But does Nikki Ash have a dark side? Because I haven't seen it. Clearly, Rhea Ripley has not watched any Nikki Cross at NXT.
Mm-hmm.
But I forgot, NXT don't count on Raw. But even when Nikki Ash or Nikki Cross came up to the main roster, she was with Sanity for a while on SmackDown. Does that not count anymore?
And she still played that crazy role when she first got with Alexa.
Yeah, a little bit of a crazy friend to a degree. Yeah. So she's clearly got a dark side. What have you been watching? I know they're trying to play up the Nikki Ash character. I guess is different than Nikki Cross. She's the superhero. She's the good girl. But still, it's like, watch your own shows, guys. Ripley said Nikki didn't have what it took to stop her from becoming champion. It sounded very scripted, all things considered here. I don't know. It's just Ripley is not what she was in NXT. In the ring, she's still okay, but after a break, Nikki told Sarah Schreiber that she knew she had to be prepared when things didn't go her way. Tonight, she knew that her dream could become a nightmare, but she had a nightlight in the form of her spirit and drive. Oh, my. Okay, I get it. She's supposed to be this kooky, innocent, supposedly lovable. It's just not working for me. But Nikki said she didn't almost beat Charlotte last week. She did beat Charlotte last week. Debatable. She did, I guess, by the letter of the law, but she got fluky again. But was it so much that Nikki beat Charlotte or Charlotte beat Charlotte? Because she ran herself into the table, knocked herself out basically, and Nikki took advantage. So you could argue. But anyhow, she was almost positive that she would beat Ripley tonight, and almost positive. Such confidence there. She would beat Ripley tonight and would do what it took to remain champion at SummerSlam, which I'm sure will happen somehow by hook or crook. Nikki Ash is probably going to retain here, I would assume, unless you're going to give Charlotte yet another title run. They showed pictures of Titus O'Neil giving away 30,000 backpacks filled with school supplies. Titus O'Neil, ever the humanitarian here, doing a good job as always. Raw Women's Champion Nikki Ash then defeated Rhea Ripley via a DQ when Charlotte came out and laid out both women and posed with the belt. That was that. That was about all that was. 9 minutes it took to get to that point. I mean, again, happy to see longer matches at times, but when you're going to end it like that, I'd rather you just do it in a minute. There's no point in wasting my time at some point, There was an Elias video package. This was interesting, though. He was outside and walked up to a fire. He reminisced over his Walk with Elias chants, but strung the guitar one last time and chucked the guitar into the fire. WWE stood for Walk with Elias, but Elias is dead, he said. So, it looks like he's getting repackaged, I'm guessing, at this point.
Yep.
It can't be any worse than what he's been doing with Jackson Riker, where he's been a constant, scaredy cat, won't even get in the ring with him. They've got to do something better with this guy, and hopefully they've got something up their sleeve. We'll see. Or either that or he'll be in the back for about 6 months. But we'll see where this goes. Schreiber asked Charlotte backstage about attacking Nikki and Ripley. She said they should have known that the attack was coming. She called herself the most decorated woman in WWE history, blah, 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 blah. With everyone... and everyone can stop waiting for her downfall. She planned on winning the title at SummerSlam. So elsewhere, Kevin Patrick asked Orton why he separated himself from Riddle. Orton said he worked better alone and played on beating Styles, so it was the same thing he repeated. All right, so the main event of the show, Randy Orton defeated one half of the Raw Tag Team Champions, AJ Styles. So again, another. It's not as bad this week. There's only twice on the main roster, seems like, this week that they beat a champion. Improvement, I guess you could say. So Styles went for a phenomenal or forearm. I guess some, Riddle and Omos was getting involved a little bit here as well. But Orton countered the phenomenal forearm into an RKO mid-move. So classic Randy Orton hitting it out of nowhere type thing. Crowd pop for the finish, which sounds like a good finish. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. And I know these two guys had a good match together. Absolutely, it's just Okay, Riddle. All this was to set up what happened after the match, though. Riddle wanted a hug from Randy Orton. Orton refused and went to leave the ring, but Riddle brought him back in. Orton finally gave him a hug, and the crowd popped big time for this. This is over. Say what you will, it's over. But when that happened, Riddle raised Orton's hand, and they posed until Orton laid him out with an RKO. Orton smiled and chuckled as Byron Saxton on commentary couldn't let this breathe at all as he yelled out, "I think they're back together! I think they're back together!" So that's how Raw ended, with Orton laying out Matt Riddle. Clearly, this is still going to be a tag team match for the titles at SummerSlam, but you would think that they wouldn't have done this thing with Orton until maybe after?
No, that's just the way Orton shows his affection.
I suppose so. But yeah, okay. I mean, say what you will, though. This is definitely over. They love the RK Bro stuff. It's cheesy and corny. I do like Randy Orton playing the straight guy here, like this guy, because he's all of us right now. He's me. Like, he's my spirit animal. I wanted to see him knock Riddle out for months since this has been going on. Glad we finally got to see it. It was great. But where they go with it, it's kind of like, okay, usually when this happens, it's over. But the Riddle's going to be that jaded ex again, who's going to be like, come on, man, can we still be together? Even after the abuse he's taken from his abusive ex-lover here in Randy Orton. So I'm sorry, it just seems odd, but anyhow.
I feel like
it's funny to
lover that many times.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Like, bad analogy maybe, but
just uncomfortable.
The point still stands, but absolutely. All right, let's get into NXT here as our last show of the evening here. So they recapped last week and things like that. Apparently, the match tonight was supposed to be Ember Moon to start the show against against Saray. But apparently Ember Moon was not cleared to wrestle this week. She's medically unclear. So they replaced Ember Moon with Dakota Kai. As soon as I heard about this, before the show started, I thought to myself, okay, I know for a fact that on Monday night when they recorded main event for this week, Dakota Kai got pinned by Aaliyah from NXT. Again, nobody watches main event, granted. However, it's still the main roster burying the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. She got pinned clean on main event. It's the Karrion Kross thing, not as egregious because it wasn't seen by as many eyeballs. But if you want to check this out, it will happen on main event this week. So spoiler alert. But they pinned the number one champion there. So I thought to myself, if they pinned Dakota Kai against Saray, who is an up-and-comer, who is not lost yet, I was going to be even madder. But I had more faith in NXT to do this right because they're building the title match that's not main or Raw or SmackDown. So in that case, but Dakota Kai did get the win here. So Kai pins Saray clean to end Saray's undefeated streak, which to me, why couldn't you have booked Saray? I guess is how they're saying it. There's some people are calling him Saray, some people are calling her Saray. But why couldn't you have maybe booked Saray against somebody else if you were just going to beat her with Dakota Kai? As soon as I heard this, regardless of Dakota Kai winning, I thought they booked themselves into a little bit of a corner here by not giving Saraya a win. Now, granted, you could say she's an up-and-comer. She got beat by a seasoned veteran who's the number one contender. Okay, cool. But to me, it's like, just don't beat your new stars. But it's one loss. We'll see where they go here. Very aggressive match, obviously, and of course, Saray hit that drop kick on the bottom rope there that looked like she about took off Dakota Kai's head, that sort of thing. But Dakota Kai dodged it, and then she hit, what is that move she kicked Raquel with in the
I can't.
corner? It's like a shining wizard, haluva kick, not a shining wizard. So yeah, she hit that, and looked like she about did the splits, and almost looked like she about fell, but she still kept her leg up in the air. Looked like it had to suck. But yeah, so
you know how you gotta kick somebody to keep the pose.
Oh yeah, as you're falling down and your leg is still vertical, very flexible too. But yeah, so this was a good match. Nothing wrong with it. Right finish here, and that's when of course Raquel Gonzalez come out after this match, and because Dakota Kai was about to attack Saray again after the match, hit her again with the haluva kick, but Raquel Gonzalez ran out and scared her off, ran her way, and that's when Gonzalez cut a promo saying she was going to tear into Kai, she was going to tear Kai apart at Takeover. They will meet in a grudge match for the title at that pay-per-view in about another week, a week and a half or so. So. Good. Nothing wrong with that. It's interesting, though, when Dakota Kai turned on Raquel, Dakota Kai got cheered like crazy, and they were chanting, welcome back to her, right? Mm-hmm. This week, they boo her the entire match, and then Raquel comes out, she gets the babyface pop, and Raquel's the babyface in this feud. Yeah. Fans flip-flopping or...
No, I mean, it's the right response.
It is based on the way they're telling it, for sure. But it's just weird how they loved how she was back, and now they're booing her.
Because they give you that initial, glad to see you're back.
True.
But you're an asshole.
Not only that, during this match, she was doing a lot of heel tactics, which probably facilitated the boos. So in that regard, they got the right reaction.
Legitimately one of those things, we're happy that you're back. We're happy that you're able to wrestle again. Cool. Let's get this out the way, because next week, you're trash.
You think she's getting beat by Raquel?
I don't know. I think the bigger story would be her beating Raquel.
Maybe. And you could go back and forth on this for a while if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, Raquel's had the belt since, was it before Mania or at Mania? It's been a bit. Mania. So, I mean, granted, longer, title reigns are great in my opinion, even longer than just the few months here we've had since Mania. But if they were to give it to Dakota, I wouldn't be too upset. I'd be interested to see how they pull that off with the size disadvantage. But it's happened before.
That's why it would be even more to boost her ego and her story if she beats Raquel because of the size difference.
Yeah.
It's an underdog, but when your underdog's the heel.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll see what they do. I can't wait for that takeover show. Despite the fact the main roster's killed my interest in it just a little bit. But we'll talk a little bit more about they're kind of hide and carry across outside the main roster here. Seems like a little bit. It's almost like his last match is at Takeover, and we're gonna get him out before anything else happens on NXT with him for sure. Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis are going on their first date. This was interesting stuff. Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano. Oh, yeah. They're at the Ways household because Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae are playing mom and dad here. And, and Johnny Gargano is talking about how our son is off, in the wilderness naked somewhere, which is interesting because he's doing dark matches on the main roster right now. So it was kind of an interesting line in that regard. So that's where Austin Theory's been. So they don't know where he's at. And and talking about how Indy's getting ready for this date. So they've got to play, they got to be a good family and work together for the good of the family, right? Dexter arrives with flowers to take her out on the date. Gargano invites him inside the house. Dexter just stares at him. They just stare back and forth. And, it's a very awkward moment. He just kind of walks in, and Gargano's like, frustrated as hell. Let's see. LeRae and Gargano were acting like overprotective parents here. Gargano and LeRae then plotted to follow the new couple on their date with walkie-talkies or something. They were going to, kind of keep in contact. So yeah, some of this stuff was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of reminds me of some of the stuff that LA Knight and Cameron Grimes have been doing lately. It's actually been good comedy. But some people are arguing that Gargano's been doing a little bit too much comedy lately. But I kind of dug this. I'm not going to lie. I got some laughs out of it. Ilya Dragunov was the focus of the vignette sponsored by Sonic. His live segment on the show is next after a commercial break and an interlude by Hit Row. This is actually a great promo by Hit Row as they stood around a fire in a barrel. They burned a mask as a warning to Legado del Fantasma. So just furthering that, that's all we really got from him on this show. Less is more. We had him last week. This week, not so much. So moving on. Pete Dunne comes out to confront Ilya Dragunov. Dragunov said he is not a man of big words, which I thought was interesting. On the path he is on, words do not mean anything. Pain means something. The struggle has meant something. Fighting spirit meant something. He put his strength into his fist instead of his mouth. He will do the unthinkable at TakeOver when he beats Walter. You will witness chaos and rage, and Unbeatable Kingdom will fall when he defeats Walter to become the new NXT UK champion. And that brought out Pete Dunne because he was a UK veteran himself. Mm-hmm. Pete Dunne said he was due a thank you. Dunne said he carried Europe on his back, and Dunne claimed Dragunov is not getting the title match. Had he stayed in Europe, Dunne said he would have put Dragunov in his place a long time ago. Dragunov responded that Dunne has some big words, but Dragunov says he is here because of himself. Dragunov vowed to beat Walter, and that is something that Dunne cannot change. Dragunov reminded Dunne that Dunne never beat Walter, and Dragunov then challenged Dunne to a match, and Dunne said after tonight, Dragunov would not make it to TakeOver. So again, a couple wrestlers kind of booking themselves a little bit. It was later confirmed by William Regal, but that main event happened tonight. So Dragunov versus Pete Dunne. Good match, by the way, which we'll get into. Mm-hmm. LA Knight lambasted. I don't know. Anyway, he basically ran down Cameron Grimes in a backstage interview with Mackenzie Mitchell. Grimes stood there with a stern look on his face, just taking this abuse. Knight ordered Grimes to put the $1 Million Championship belt on Knight's shoulders as he's about ready to go out for a match. $1 Million Champion Knight versus Andre Chase. Knight pinned Chase in a very short match. This was basically a squash. Chase started off with the House of Fire, but Knight quickly caught him with a headlock DDT, and then he pinned him. So sweet, short, sweet, very quick to the point. Knight then ordered Grimes into the ring. This is what it was all about. He ordered him to kneel at his feet. Out comes Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man's music hit. DiBiase said he has gone too far. He knows Grimes is a man of his word. DiBiase says Grimes has more going for him than being a butler. DiBiase told Grimes he believed in him and the fans believed in him too. LA Knight then cut off Ted DiBiase, and Knight threatened to punch him in the mouth again. Grimes warned against that as DiBiase told Knight to shut his mouth. DiBiase got a little wordy here with LA Knight, which was interesting. DiBiase told Grimes he could be anything he wants to be. DiBiase said Grimes wants to be a champion. DiBiase then challenged LA Knight to put the $1 Million title on the line against Grimes at TakeOver. LA Knight shot down the title match saying he already beat Grimes twice. He's got nothing else to prove, which is very good on the heels part. He's very smart. He wasn't just going to fall for this. I like that. Mm-hmm. Then LA Knight agreed to the match at TakeOver anyway, though. But because he agreed to the match, he added his own stipulation. If LA Knight retains against Cameron Grimes again, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase will become Knight's butler. So I don't know if that means Cameron will still be his butler as well. Maybe not. It may be one of those deals where Ted takes his place. But clearly to me, Grimes is going to win the belt here. Ted's not going to have to do that. But wouldn't that be interesting if the man who's got all this money has to be the takeover? That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
I mean, really we kind of thought that Grimes was probably going to win the last time, and he didn't happen. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, I'm loving LA Knight. He cut this promo and running down Cameron Grimes before this segment, and I'm not going to lie. I felt like I was listening to a young Rock cut this promo.
I told you.
Yeah, I know you did.
I told you.
Yeah, and you're right. You're absolutely right. He's got this cadence about him when he delivers promos. He's just so fluid. He's got this charisma, and I like this kid. I hope he goes very far in this business. We'll see what they do with him on the WWE roster, but so far so good. Keep this up, absolutely. Vignette hyped Gigi Dolan. She warned the NXT roster that she is running over everyone, and she is not doing it alone. Of course, she recently aligned herself with Mandy Rose and things like that. She defeated Amari Miller here in a very short match. Miller showed fire, but Dolan soon cut her off. Dolan won after executing a Cobra Twist Bomb. Wickedly cool move, but hard to describe. Dolan looked strong in the winning. It was basically kind of like, almost like a spinning snap, I don't know what you call it, like almost like a neck breaker, but it was a great move to like the article says, very hard to describe, but very smoothly done, looked devastating, and it was very good for her to get this win here. The wacky skits continued with Andy Hartwell and Dexter Loomis on their date. They're at a restaurant now. LeRae's cover was blown, though, as she tried to spy on him at the restaurant because Andy Hartwell overheard her talking on her walkie-talkie with Gargano. So she went over, ripped down the menu, and then told Gargano, "Get out of here. I'm on my date. Over and out." And she left. So, yeah, more comedy here. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly were face-to-face in this next segment. General Manager William Regal served as a moderator, and a team of security was stationed around the ring. Cole and O'Reilly will be picking the stipulations for their 2 out of 3 falls match at TakeOver 36. They each get to pick one stipulation, and Regal picks the final stip if they were to go to a third match.
I said that too.
Yeah, you did. At least I believe you. I don't remember, but I believe you. O'Reilly started off the verbal debate here. He thought of a lot of different stipulations, but his loss to Cole at the Great American Bash did not set well with him, so O'Reilly picked a straight wrestling match for the first fall. Boring, but I get it. They were playing to the fact that he lost a straight match, right? Or did he win that match?
Yeah, he won that. He won their first match.
Oh yeah, he pinned Cole in the street fight with the chain, and
Yeah.
Cole beat him in the. Okay, so that makes some sense why he at least wanted to do the regular match. Okay, I get that. O'Reilly's reasoning was a loss in a straight-up match would hurt Cole's ego more than any chair shot to the head would hurt him. So that's why he chose the straight match. Cole responded that O'Reilly is so predictable. Cole said O'Reilly was delusional that he was better than Cole. Hot take, Cole is a hell of a talker here. Anybody who thinks he's just a vanilla midget and is not any good, listen to some of his promos and watch his work. Come on, guys. Cole went on to pick a street fight for the second fall. So, kind of playing off what we already saw with that wicked chain clothesline and things like that. We're going to get that type of match for the second fall. O'Reilly said he would be willing to do anything to put Cole down for good. Cole called him a moron. For 13 years, Cole said O'Reilly has ridden on his coattails. Cole was on fire here. He said O'Reilly will never be Adam Cole. Cole called himself the greatest NXT champion or NXT superstar ever. My apologies. And Cole called O'Reilly a footnote in Cole's career. Maybe eventually may be the truth. Cole went on to call O'Reilly soft. Cole kept baiting O'Reilly into a fight. They tied up in a pull-apart brawl. That's when Regal yelled at both of them as they were being secured by the security, saying that the third fall will be inside a steel cage. So
Somebody's going to the hospital.
well, this is definitely going to be the blow-off, especially if Adam Cole's not re-signing his contract after this is over. But I'm good on Adam Cole for being a class act and re-upping for a month after his contract expired, and WWE didn't know. But Cole was good enough to be like, hey, O'Reilly's my friend. All the NXT and Triple H have been good to me. Even if I do leave and we don't negotiate an extension here, he's going to finish this feud out before he leaves. So I can't wait to see this. It feels like Adam Cole's taking a loss on the way out. It depends on the contract. If he leaves, well, we may get an idea of if he's re-signing or not. If it's not been done yet, the deal's not done. Cole will probably lose this. But if he's re-signed, Cole may win. If Cole wins, we may know if he's re-signed with the company right there. So we'll be interested to keep an eye on for sure. Tommaso Ciampa, flanked by Timothy Thatcher, cut a promo backstage on Ridge Holland. Thatcher meets Holland in a match next week on NXT. So that'll be probably pretty brutal for sure. But yeah, that'll be good. NXT champion or tag team champions MSK and Imperium cut promos on each other. It was later announced by William Regal they will be in a tag team title match next week on NXT as well. So Imperium versus MSK. Odyssey Jones defeated Trey Parker in the NXT Breakout Tournament semifinal match. Jones pinned Baxter, and Jones advanced to the tournament.
Good. I liked Odyssey Jones.
Odyssey Jones is massive, man. I think he's bigger than Mark Henry.
Huge.
Yeah, or back when Mark Henry was in his prime. Yeah. I mean, he's taller, I should say.
He's huge. Bro.
That dude is probably going to win this whole thing.
Quick on his feet, though.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Keith Lee with his quickness and the size.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know WWE and Vince McMahon in particular likes big guys, but would this guy be considered fat in Vince's eyes? Or Mark Henry?
I don't know, because he's got that Mark Henry appeal.
Yeah.
And I think that's something Vince, knows because he knows Mark. Mark looked big, but that was solid muscle.
Oh yeah, yeah. And this guy's mostly muscle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Lee's a little bigger in the belly. Now this guy's got a bigger belly on him as well, but this
He's
guy's got a
also
little bit more of a strongman
tall.
look to him. He's what?
He also looks taller.
Oh yeah, he's definitely taller than Henry, I think, or at least it appears that way. Especially in their prime, I think he's definitely taller. So rather short match, but this was David versus Goliath, but Goliath won clean in the ring. Samantha Irving interviewed Jones after the match. He sent out a shout out to his mama, so he had to get his shout out there to his mama at home.
Hey.
Boa from T and Shaw was out here with Mei Ying up on the ramp. He defeated Drake Maverick here after outside interference when Mei Ying. Let's see. I can't remember how it exactly. Oh yeah, okay. Maverick was getting manhandled early on in the bout, but he came back for a dive. That's when Mei Ying missed in the eyes of Maverick, and Maverick walked into a roundhouse kick, and Boa scored the pinfall. So short, sweet. But yeah, kind of furthering this mystique of Mei Yin or Ying and the Tian Shaw stable here, I suppose. The wacky dating skits continued for round 3 here with even more wackiness. Johnny Gargano, poorly disguised himself as a waiter. He had this get up with this fake mustache and everything on. He approached Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis with a cake at their dinner table. The unwritten rule in pro wrestling is someone is getting the cake in the face once you introduce a cake. No doubt about that.
Yeah, somebody's eating that cake.
Indy Hartwell busted Gargano for spying on her and Lumis. They fought over the cake, and she ripped the mustache off his face. He's like, oh, that it hurts and all that sort of stuff. And the cake, obviously, when they were fighting over it, they both kind of were tugging and pulling on it, and it went into Dexter Lumis's face. It actually looked like they both kind of did it on purpose, especially Gargano. So a small fraction of me thought, okay, maybe they're teasing that Indy's in on it just to get to Dexter and for the way to beat up Dexter. I don't think that's where they're going, but maybe you can... It's probably just the way it was shot. It wasn't the greatest cake flip. But anyway, this is all supposed to be comedy. I chuckled at some of the stuff. The cake stuff, not so much. But actually, Indy sat back down after she shooed Gargano away. And Indy's like, don't worry. I said I've always got room for seconds. And she took some of the cake off his face and ate it. And yeah, it was kind of a little weird. But and Dexter just no souls it the whole time, just staring forward like, what is going on with this creep? I don't know. But hey, it's working for him at the moment. We had a promo package that hyped Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross at TakeOver. Great stuff. And I guess next week, Joe and Kross are going to go face-to-face for a go-home episode before their pay-per-view, which, again, this will be the first time outside of just about a week or so ago when Kross was outside, called out Joe, and he ran away. So they've really not been getting Kross on this show since he got beat to Jeff Hardy. So at least next week we'll finally get to see him, hopefully for a little bit longer of a segment. But it sounds like he's minimal use, and he's up to the main roster soon. Main event's up next. Pete Dunne versus Ilya Dragunov. Pete Dunne pinned Dragunov in a banger of a match. This was actually very brutal. A lot of joint manipulation, kick strikes, things like that. Dragunov looked absolutely great. I've never seen him in a match before personally because I don't watch NXT UK too much. But a lot of grappling in the beginning was very fantastic here. Dunne working over Dragunov as the show returned from a break. Despite getting booted in the face, Dragunov fought back to trade strikes with Pete Dunne. Great counters and exchanges leading to a double down. More great counters and reversals, which led to them trading near falls. These counters are a thing of beauty, though. Dragunov with the deadlift powerbomb for 2. More 2 counts, but Pete Dunne kept kicking out. Dunne went for a bitter end, but he is countered by Dragunov. Dunne kept targeting the arm, but Dragunov fought to execute a deadlift German suplex for yet another near fall. Senton bomb off the top rope by Dragunov. That's when NXT UK champion Walter's music hit. The Imperium music hit in the arena, and Walter was there. He showed up on stage in the US of A here, obviously preparing, probably going to stay here through the pay-per-view for sure, which distracts Dragunov. Dunne tried for bitter end after a sneak attack. Dragunov fought him off and countered the bitter end again. Dragunov went for a torpedo Moscayo? I don't know how you say that. But Dunne blocked the attempt. Dunne then delivered the bitter end, and he pinned Dragunov. Walter didn't get involved. Just stood there, walked closer and closer to the ring. Good distraction finish, setting up their feud. Or at least continuing it. But after the match, Walter attacked Dragunov. But Dragunov with one more counter for the night. Dragunov hit Walter with a torpedo Moscayo, or however you say that, which knocked Walter out of the ring. And Dragunov posed with the NXT UK title belt as the show closed. So it kind of... I mean, Walter cost him the match, but by the end of the night, I'm assuming the babyface here, I guess Dragunov's a babyface. I don't know. Yeah. This will be a good match between these two guys, no doubt about it. Now, I'm not going to lie. When I saw Walter come out here, my first thought was, okay, he's here through the pay-per-view. He's going to stay in the States that long at least. Probably not going back. So next week they announced that Imperium is challenging MSK for the NXT tag titles. What are the chances that Walter's there for that and Imperium wins the tag belts? As we discussed, could be a possibility at some point, but with Walter possibly being in the arena, I think the possibility just went up about at least a good 100% here. So, interesting to see. But, yeah, good to see Walter. Can't wait for this match. It's going to be incredible. Very physical and all that sort of stuff. So, overall, I thought a very good NXT show. A couple of squash matches, all that notwithstanding. But, yeah, booked very well. Better than some of the NXTs lately when I've been kind of boring. This one actually kept my attention for the most part all the way through. Any thoughts on all these three shows as we get ready to end this show here, buddy?
I enjoyed hearing about them because, like I said, I did not get a chance to watch them. I kind of wish I could have seen some of the skits, though, that were on NXT. Those would have been cool.
They've got some of the good comedy stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I think my overall consensus, like what I said before, they have a lot of things, like story-wise right now, that could be good if done right.
Especially on NXT.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful. You know what I mean?
I'm hopeful for NXT, but it seems like the cards are stacked against that brand at this point.
Yeah.
But for now, it sounds like, things are not bad. I'm sure the NXT's TakeOver show will be good. Whether or not we get a reset or something after that, I don't know. But I like some of the feuds they're doing. I just wish they hadn't done a certain few things on the main roster to kind of wane my interest in the Joe Cross stuff. But Joe winning the title will probably be good, assuming that's what they do. My assumption is that's the case. But overall, there was some good stuff on these shows this week. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't terrible. They only pinned two champions. Both of them were one half of the tag champions in singles matches. So, again, that's not as, terrible as if you were to pin like the Intercontinental. Well, they did pin the Intercontinental champion. I take that back. There was three of them. No, wait, he got beat by disqualification. So they only pinned two, but a third one lost. So maybe a little bit of improvement there. Some of the wacky comedy stuff, whatever, the doll and all that stuff. But overall, there was some good stuff. So I'm not going to totally bury you this week. Better than most. So I'll give it some praise there. So the real question here is, though, guys, what do you guys think about the week that was in the WWE? Please comment down below. Let us know what you thought of Raw, NXT, and Smackdown. And don't forget to hit that notification bell and the like and subscribe button. And until our next video, guys, I guess catch us tomorrow for our AEW Dynamite review as we prepare for Rampage staying up this week. And until our next video, guys, take care.
Later.
Yeah, ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right, I swear to God that I can jump and roll. Yeah, I got shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable.